Today, we're cracking open a biological code that's been hiding in plain sight. We're talking about a form of intelligence so completely alien in its structure, so different in its timescale, that for our entire history, we've just mistaken it for, well, for scenery. This is the forbidden intelligence.
Think about how you move through the world. You're the protagonist, right? The player character. You've got the fast, centralized brain, you call the shots. And all the plants, the fungi, the life humming around you, they're just the non-player characters, the NPCs. They're static assets in your game. But here's the thing, that entire worldview, it's a glitch in your perception, not a reflection of reality.
So what is this forbidden intelligence? It's this shocking realization. Those so-called NPCs are running a biological code that is, in many ways, far more sophisticated than our own. It's an intelligence operating on a timescale so incredibly slow and across a network so vast that it's rendered completely invisible to our high-speed mammalian senses. You're not the player. You're just someone who's wandered into a massive server room, and you have absolutely no idea what any of the machines do.
Okay, so how in the world does this intelligence actually work? Well, to understand the software, you've got to start with the hardware. And our search for the architecture of this mind, it begins underground.
Okay, deep in the tip of every single root, there's a kind of command center called the transition zone. You can think of it as a data fusion hub. It's got structures that act a lot like our synapses, and it uses the hormone auxin as a kind of neurotransmitter. But here's the absolutely wild part. Plants have glutamate receptors, and these are structurally identical to the ones in your brain that your neurons use to talk to each other. This is not a cute metaphor. This is homologous hardware.
And this just shows you the completely different design philosophy. The animal brain, our brain, it's centralized. It's incredibly high energy. And you know what? It's fragile. One critical hit, and it's game over. The plant brain is a distributed swarm brain. It's low energy and massively, unbelievably resilient. A deer could come by and eat 90% of a plant's roots, and that remaining 10%, it just keeps right on calculating.
And the sheer scale of this parallel computer, get this, a single rye plant can have something like 13 million root tips. Every single one of those acts as its own semi-autonomous processing node. It's literally a biological cloud computing network, just spread out in the dirt beneath our feet. All right, so that's the hardware. But, amazing hardware is just a fancy paperweight without software to run on it. So now we need to look for the code, the algorithmic evidence. We're looking for undeniable proof that these systems are actively computing, learning, and, even making decisions.
This is hands down one of my favorite experiments of all time. Researchers gave a brainless, single-celled slime mold a simple challenge: design the Tokyo Railway Network. Well, in just 26 hours, it produced a network that was just as efficient as the one that human engineers took decades to design. But here's the kicker. The slime mold's network was 40% more resilient to failure. Think about that. We are literally outsourcing our complex civil engineering to a blob of slime. And the evidence just keeps piling up. In controlled lab studies, garden peas actually learned to associate the feeling of a fan's breeze with an incoming light source. They learned that wind predicted food. And even more incredible, the mimosa plant, the one that curls up when you touch it, it learned to ignore a harmless drop stimulus, and it retained that memory for 28 days. For comparison, a honeybee's memory lasts a few days. The brainless plant remembers for a month.
So, okay, if all of this is happening all around us, why can't we see it? Why isn't it completely obvious? Well, it turns out the problem isn't with the intelligence out there. It's with the operating system running in here. There's a fundamental glitch in how we perceive time itself.
And that glitch has a name: chronocentrism. It's our built-in bias toward our own super fast-paced timescale. We process the world in milliseconds. So when we look at the deliberate low-energy computations of this slow AI, to us it just seems inert. It looks like it's doing nothing at all. It's like we're watching a grand strategy game being played out over decades, but we're only seeing a single frozen frame, a still life painting.
Let me give you maybe the most unsettling, most mind-bending example of this slow AI in action. This right here is the Bokshila vine. It's a botanical chameleon. As it climbs up a host tree, it can change its own leaf shape, its size, its color, even its vein pattern to perfectly match its host. So the billion-dollar question is, how does it know what the other plant looks like?
So obviously researchers were stumped too. They thought, okay, maybe it's chemical signals or some kind of horizontal gene transfer. So to test this, they did something clever. They gave the vine an artificial plastic plant to climb. And the vine, it copied the fake plastic leaves perfectly. There is no chemical signal coming from a piece of plastic.
This points to a truly radical hypothesis. What if the convex cells on the surface of the leaf are acting like tiny, simple lenses, like primitive eyes called ocelli? And what if they're focusing light onto photosensitive layers deeper inside the leaf? If that's true, it would allow the plant to perceive shapes, patterns, spatial data. Let me put this as plainly as I can. The plant can see. The MPC has a camera.
Okay, so far we've been talking about individual organisms. But now we have to zoom way, way out, because the intelligence of a single plant, it's really just one processing node in a massive planetary-scale network. It is time we logged into the Wood Wide Web.
Get this picture in your head. The next time you walk through a forest, you are not alone. Not even close. You are standing on top of a vast, subterranean network of mycorrhizal fungi that connects nearly every single plant around you. And one study estimated that this biological internet has a connectivity density that actually rivals and maybe even exceeds that of the human brain.
And this superorganism, it is not passive. It's an active marketplace, a communications grid, and a defense network all in one. You have these huge mother trees acting as hubs, pumping carbon out to struggling seedlings to nurse them along. You have different species literally trading resources based on what they need that season. And when one tree gets attacked by insects, it shoots out electrical warning signals through the network to tell its neighbors to raise their defenses. And now, this is the really cool part. Scientists are trying to develop what they call agent plants to finally tap into and maybe even understand this ancient data stream.
And that brings us to our final unsettling question. The artificial intelligence we have been desperately trying to build in labs, what if a far more ancient, more stable version has been under our feet for 450 million years, quietly managing the entire biosphere? So, if the mind is simply a natural property of life, and the forest is a computer on a planetary scale, what does that make you? A user with admin rights, or just another line of disposable code running inside their simulation?